And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this Tuesday, June 9th, 1:08 in the afternoon, and it feels like a steam box out there. We've got temperatures hugging 90 degrees right now, and dew points are in the 70s, giving us heat index readings approaching 100. It's going to be a hot one. Heat advisories are in effect up and down the valley into Lakes Country. And then we're going to be dealing with severe weather as we head into tonight. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our Ag Director Bridgette Readel. Bad hair day, Bridgette, out there. It's so humid.
It is. Oh, and it's so windy. So yes, I just came into the pickup from being at Crooked Lane Farm. I am down here by Colfax. This is the National Science Foundation Ag Tech Engines Field Forward Day, and there's folks pulling up, driving in all over. This is going on from 1 to 5 o'clock. You can stop by. One of the first things I saw when I was here was the grain weevil, who we've talked with them before about cleaning out your grain bins, and then also there is, I can't remember what the thing is called, but essentially it's a whole different type of sprayer. It's mounted on the back of the tractor like a 3-point, and it has like oscillating nozzles on it that put a direct stream onto the plant instead of droplet size. I can't wait to talk to that guy later on this afternoon. So a lot of great ag tech out here. It's a big week. So much more to talk about that's just been going on so far today.
And if you are out and about today, across the area, we've got a couple scenarios one scenario that may play out, another one likely to play out. Let's go down the first scenario first, because taking a look at some of our short-term models, and there's a warm front lifting north, and we could get some what we call supercell storms to develop along that warm front after about 3-4 o'clock this afternoon. That would be generally along and north of 94, and those will move due north with the warm front. If those develop, and it's only about a 20% to 30% chance those develop, but if they do, those could go tornadic and also produce some very, very large hail. And again, that would be along and north of 94 in the extreme eastern parts of North Dakota, and those would move into northwestern Minnesota. And again, timing on that would be after 3 p.m. this afternoon. That's the unlikely scenario, but it's still there. Now, the more likely scenario is going to be storms developing from Bismarck up through Minot about 5 o'clock today. Those will push eastward throughout the evening and arrive in the valley anytime between 10 o'clock and 2 a.m. We're given a 4-hour window because our models keep fluctuating back and forth. Is it right before midnight, right after midnight? So right around the midnight hour, we're going to see a line of severe storms move into the valley. Now, the threat with that is going to be damaging winds, something similar to what they had out in Dickinson just the other night, where they had 90-plus mile-an-hour winds. That can't be ruled out up and down the valley as we head into, again, that 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. scenario. So if you go to bed early, make sure to have a weather radio, some way to wake you up in case warnings are issued, and I'm sure there will be. There will more than likely be a watch box issued for our area. And when you get these derecho or these wind events, occasionally, not often, but occasionally you can get spin-up tornadoes with those as well. So it's going to get nasty later tonight, so just be prepared for it. By 3 a.m., it's all east of our area. The rest of the night will be quiet. And then tomorrow, we're still looking at a little bit of humidity sticking around, low 80s, a few showers and thunder showers, and then a nice, refreshing Canadian air mass comes in here as we head into the weekend. If you like the cooler weather, the weekend has highs in the low 70s, partly cloudy, and it should be dry. So a hot, humid one today, and then much cooler weather as we head into the weekend. But again, be weather aware, especially after 10 p.m. tonight. That's when things could get really rough. So we'll be here all night keeping an eye on it and keeping you up to date. I know we've got our election coverage going on this evening. We'll be breaking into that if necessary with severe weather, but it looks like a pretty good bet. And again, not just our area. This is going to start out around Bismarck and basically come right across the state. So a lot of the state is going to get hit by severe weather as we head into this evening and tonight.
Interesting conversation this morning with North Dakota Ag Commissioner Doug Goring while I was at the Midwest Ag Summit, which was put on by the area chambers of commerce out at the Red River Valley Fairgrounds. And he pointed out that they're wet in that Bismarck area. He was
Mm.
very surprised to say this is one of the few times that he can think of it. Getting a tractor stuck on hilltops is actually a common occurrence right now because it's just so wet and mucky underneath that they're having trouble. In fact, they're looking at some preventive plant acres not being able to finish up soybeans and even sunflowers. And usually we can plant sunflowers, like till Father's Day. We usually run pretty late with those in the state. So we're going to see how that turns out for Bismarck.
Yeah,
Sure
and
yet.
let's hope those develop. I don't think they will develop just east of there, but if they're expected to develop almost on top or just west of Bismarck, and unfortunately, and good thing they'll be pretty quick movers, but that's still going to provide some additional rainfall out there. And well, some of those areas just from the other night picked up 1 to 3 inches of rain. It was spotty, but some of those areas did pick up way too much rain, and yeah, like the commissioner said, it's been a while since we've been able to talk about too much moisture out west.
Yeah, their pastures sure look good. And I'm going to go through the south central part of the state today. After I get done here at Crooked Lane Farm by Colfax, where I am at the North Dakota Ag Tech Engines Field Forward Day. Once I leave here, I'm going to be heading through south central North Dakota to Oneida, South Dakota, where I speak tomorrow morning in Oneida. I'll be curious to see who got planted, who didn't, who would like rain, how your pastures look. So there'll be full reports to give on all of that. By the way, did everybody go vote today, guys? Did y'all get it done?
Absolutely. Yep.
I
Okay.
barely got out of bed today. I didn't go vote.
Polls are
Justin,
open till
sorry,
7.
Addison.
What?
Shame on you.
I'm a tired guy. I'm a sleepy little guy. What can I say?
Well, polls are open till 7. And the way I see it, you don't get to complain about anything governmentally unless you go vote. So get out there, get that done, right? This is the day. And then that should put you in the mood to join us on Monday for our Flag Day celebration here at Flag Family Media. You can join us from 11 to 1. There'll be lunch, there'll be food trucks out in the parking lot. If I'm not mistaken, there's a fairly big salute going on to our law enforcement on that day as well. Who's got details on that? Anyone? Or am I going to make them up?
Oh, not me. We should make up details, though, and whatever sounds good, we should see if we can make official.
Make something up, Addison.
Okay. All right. So Monday,
corn
11
dogs.
to 1, we will have the raising of the flag and the national anthem at 11 a.m. Color guard salute, food trucks, but free ice cream. And this is a fundraiser for the Veterans Honor Flight of North Dakota and Minnesota. Prizes with drawings every 15 minutes. There is a free lunch for our veterans, law enforcement, and first responders. So please stop by. Even if you're in a rural community and you're on the volunteer fire department or ambulance and you happen to be in Fargo coming up on Monday, June 15th, we'd love to have you stop and be a part of our Flag Day celebration here at the studios. Also, we want to make sure that for those of you who get your rainfall, or hopefully not hail and other destructive items, you can always call us to report in because we share that information with the National Weather Service. That's on the JLA Insurance phone line, 701-293-9000. Dean will take your emails, weather@flagfamily.com, and mine is ag@flagfamily.com, for any questions you might have about the whole week of events that's going on in honor of agriculture in and around the Fargo area. We have our live stream brought to us by Lighthouse Commodities. They do a fantastic job of making sure you can watch us on Acres TV, Facebook, and YouTube. And you'll see my pickup all sorts of places this week. And I've got my Landmark stickers on it because Landmark Companies, they're your local leader in farm drainage. So talk to Blake Sunday. Talk to him about some early order discounts if you want to keep thinking ahead about what drainage should look like on your farm or in your farm yard. Because precision drainage brings proven results, and that's with Landmark Companies. Today is the Fit Farmer Focus. That's brought to us by Essentia Health. We're going to be joined in studio by Dr. Dustin I have to slow down to say his name. Nowotny. There we go. Took me a minute. And we've got a whole list of questions for him. I will tell you this segment has been excellent. In at least 3 different scenarios, I have had listeners say, because of listening to folks that have come from Essentia Health, when we got to the hospital, we could go get nurse educators. We could talk to the specialists that we needed to. And so we're finding that doing this Fit Farmer Focus every month really pays off. And again, that's brought to us by Essentia Health. So we'll be joined by Dr. Dustin right after we get the livestock market update from the American Ag Network. Hey, did you have tickets for the Allison Krauss and Union Station concert that was originally scheduled to be over at the Blue Stand Amphitheater next Tuesday, June 16th? Good news, it's still on. Even with the changes going on at Jade's Presents, it's now going to be at Shields Arena. So that concert will take place June 16th. It will be at the Shields Arena. If you have an existing e-tix, you will have that transferred to Ticketmaster, and the new Ticketmaster ticket will be issued to existing purchases prior to the event. So if you have any questions, you're going to want to make sure to have a conversation with Shields Arena, etc. But you should know that the concert going forward, and a big thank you to Bell Bank, who worked to ensure that that concert would continue to go on even with a change of venue. So heads up for all of you for next week. And also for next week, after you go to the concert and you're feeling in a giddy and spending mood, Steffes Group has a great big in-person auction. Who doesn't love an in-person auction? I mean, we're talking greasy cheeseburgers and church lady homemade pie. Well, this one's going to take place out in Regan, North Dakota. It is on June 17th, starts at 9 a.m. You can go to steffesgroup.com to see everything on that retirement auction for the Seeley Farm family, and you will see hopper bins, trucks, late model equipment, and so much more. So check that out. That's on June 17th. That's a Steffes Group auction in person as well as online. Speaking of in person, that's where our guest is today. We are joined by one of our doctors from Essentia Health for our Fit Farmer Focus with a returning guy. This is Dr. Dustin Nowotny. So, Dr. Dustin, let people know who you are.
Hi, Bridgette. Thanks for having me back. I'm Dustin Nowotny. I'm a general surgeon at Essentia Health. I currently serve as the section chair and really like to focus on broad spectrum general surgery, kind of doing all the things that we need to do.
You're the guy that likes to make sure if a cut needs to happen, you want to be the first one there. I'll take care of this, everybody, right?
Absolutely.
I have a GP who sometimes just likes to say, well, it looks like that should be cut off and removed. So I think he also wanted to be a surgeon, but you beat him to it. So there.
Yeah, it's definitely fun doing a lot of stuff with your hands.
I bet. Okay, wait. As a general surgeon, do you do everything just with a scalpel, or do you sometimes use robotics?
We do lots of sorts of things. I focus on a lot of robotics, and so, yeah, I do use a lot of advanced technology in that regard and really try to bring some of that advancing technology and techniques to our area.
When you were with us back in March, we had a very different conversation. Do you want to recap that for our listeners?
Yeah, so back in March, we had Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. We really tried to emphasize how important it is to undergo and maintain your colorectal cancer screening. It's a fairly simple procedure for colonoscopy. There are other options, but colonoscopy is the best, and it's able to prevent cancer. We're able to find lesions sooner, and then ultimately, like I said, prevent transition to cancer and sometimes save you a lot of heartache and a lot of intensive rehab after surgical interventions.
And Doc, what would be the other way outside of a colonoscopy? You said there's another way?
Yep, so there's stool-based testing now, so that's the Cologuard. It is approved and it's done every 5 years. If that does come back positive, the recommendation is to undergo a colonoscopy, and so it does provide a different level of surveillance, but it's certainly better than nothing.
Okay. Because drinking that chalky stuff beforehand, that's no fun.
No, the prep is always the worst part.
Oh, man.
Okay, since Dr. Dustin was with us back in March, I took his advice. I had a colonoscopy in May. And I can say two things. One, I'm not nearly as full of crap as everybody thinks. Two, the prep was very different. I didn't have to do the chalky awful stuff. I had a new relationship with Gatorade and Miralax. So for those of you who would like something different, that worked out really well.
Yeah,
sort of.
That is one of the big switches is we're doing the Miralax and Gatorade more for the initial colonoscopy prep. People who need the chalky stuff if they have constipation issues or have failure to get clean at times.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I will tell you that good news, clean bill of health. I'm really glad I did it. So thank you for the advice that I got right here with Essentia Health on the Fit Farmer Focus.
Congratulations.
Our focus today, though, is talking about hernias. So, okay, I have a science background, but apparently not a medical one, because as a high school kid, I remember hearing one of my high school teachers saying he had a hernia. So I thought that just happened to men.
It really depends on the type of hernia. So there's a few different types of hernias, and we kind of can talk through all of them. But the main variations are abdominal wall, which would be kind of like your umbilical or most of the incisional hernias. You also have inguinal or the groin hernias. Those are certainly more common in men, not exclusively in men though. And then there's also other ones that you don't see, such as a hiatal hernia that can be present and really only found on imaging.
So, okay, what is a hernia? Is it a rupture? Would we call it a lesion? It's some sort of wound? I mean, even people talk about herniated discs in their back.
Yeah, so a hernia is essentially tissue that is not in the right spot. We call a hernia a defect. It's a space in the abdominal wall or the strength layer of the abdominal wall where some tissue is going somewhere it's not supposed to be. A herniated disc is the disc is outside of where it's supposed to be. And so a hernia is essentially tissue trying to go somewhere else. In regards to what we're talking about today, that's essentially the abdominal wall or the groin where intra-abdominal tissue is trying to basically work its way out or bulge out through the abdominal wall.
Okay, I just need a second here because that sounds horrible. There's no way else to describe it. How do you know what that is? What's the first sign that this might be a hernia or something really dubious?
Yeah, the two most common complaints are bulging. Again, lots of times patients just notice that like they have an outie belly button, and that can be the first sign. They can have some bulging in the groin. That can be one of those first signs. Otherwise, pain is a common symptom of hernias because you're stretching the tissue, and that can elicit some pain.
Okay, there's a lot of other questions that go along with this, and we're going to get to those when we return from our bottom of the hour news break. We are joined by Dr. Dustin. He's a returning doctor from Essentia Health as we are doing our Fit Farmer Focus. We're going to talk about hernias, and we'll take your calls if you'd like. Some of you may be thinking, I'm not sure I want to talk about this, but you can. 701-293-9000. That's the JLA Insurance phone line. Today is our Fit Farmer Focus with Essentia Health, and we are so lucky to have Dustin joining us today because, well, wait, I accidentally used a Justin. Dean called Addison Justin earlier. Apparently it's catchy.
When did this happen?
Okay, so
Why is everyone named
I
Justin on
don't
this show?
know. So Dr. Dustin, he came to talk about hernias, which sound horrendous. I'm just going to start with that, first of all. And you mentioned some of the signs. Is this fairly common? Do hernias happen pretty regularly?
Yeah, hernias are one of the most common problems in the world. I wrote down some numbers just to kind of share. In 1 in 5 people have an umbilical hernia. Umbilical hernias are generally there from birth. You basically just don't notice it until it's starting to bother you. Groin hernias, 20 to 40% of males will experience a groin or inguinal hernia in their life. 3 to 5% of females will have that problem. And then anytime you have surgery, every time you have a surgery or any of those cut sites can develop into a hernia in the future. And for the larger midline incisions, that rate gets up to 20 to 30% of patients.
And Dustin, can you get when we were growing up, it's like if you did heavy lifting, careful, you're going to get yourself a hernia or something like. Can you get that from heavy lifting? Can you?
So most hernias are congenital, and so you don't really get a hernia from lifting. You maybe now notice it because of lifting, where it's starting to bother you because of all the pressure that you're putting on it.
Okay.
But you didn't get it because of lifting.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. That was something I was going to ask as well, as how that happened. But when you said an umbilical hernia, which is something from birth, did everybody else check their belly buttons too? I'm just curious because I was like, wow, did I have that? And I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned a cut site. So if you have surgery, there's a potential for a hernia there. I think of hernia as probably belly button and below, but could a hernia happen higher if you have had, say, open heart surgery or something?
Yep, one of those complications from open heart surgery is kind of abdominal hernia down lower, because they do extend that incision sometimes down pretty low. So again, anywhere you have the longer the cut site, the higher the risk of a hernia. And so laparoscopy and robotic surgery has been great for reduction of hernia incidence, because the incisions are all less than 1/4 of an inch versus a large 4, 5, 6 inch incision. It definitely puts you at higher risk.
Do they happen within a certain time? Like I had an appendectomy in first grade. Could I still get one?
Unlikely. Generally, you start to notice it within the first 1 to 2 years. I wouldn't say never, but the likelihood after kind of 5, 10 years is pretty low.
So basically today I realize how dumb I am about healthcare, but yet I'm sharing my entire medical history with the entire world. So enjoy, everyone. Okay. Are there factors that we can figure out or things that we can do better to decrease the risk of having a hernia?
Unfortunately, there's not a lot you can do to decrease that risk. Again, most of the primary hernias or first noticed hernias are all congenital. There's, for one reason or another, a ring didn't close or that tissue didn't completely come back together when you were growing as a baby. And so over time, it spreads out a little bit, and then you start noticing a bump or noticing pain and symptoms. Aside from the incisional hernias, there's really not a lot you can do to prevent them. If it's there, it will probably rear its head at some point in your life.
How much does this hurt? Or is it just something that's annoying and I'll live with it for a long time?
Very wide spectrum. Some patients come in and they have debilitating pain. They can't move. They can't work out. They can't lift. They complain because they can't exercise, and they want to lose weight, but they can't even do that. And so that's always a tough conversation to have. And some people are just like, oh, I know it's there. It doesn't really bother me that much. Some people are asymptomatic too.
Can't lose weight because of a hernia? Good Lord, I'm a whole walking hernia. I didn't even know it. Thank God you diagnosed me. Good to know.
And we've got Todd on line one. He's got a question for you. Todd, go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you for taking questions. Very informative. My question is, I often hear, maybe more in the sports field or whatever, but athletes have a sports hernia. Could you explain what that is, please?
Yeah, so there's a disease process called a sportsman's hernia. At times you can have some bulging in that spot, and it's essentially an overuse exercise of the rectus muscle where it attaches at the pubic bone. So your six-pack muscles can be inflamed and irritated, and sometimes that's what people consider a sportsman's hernia. Otherwise, you can kind of develop that bulging after repeated activities and repeated loads and lifting and stuff like that.
Interesting. Never heard of that
Todd
one
must
before.
be gone.
Yeah, Todd. Yeah,
Yeah.
Todd hung up. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I thought maybe he has more. Okay. So what's the treatment? I mean, if you got it from a surgery, do we just go in and do another surgery?
Yeah, so really the only way to fix a hernia is surgically repair it. The hernias, as I can tell most of my patients, hernias never really get better. The natural course is that they grow and get bigger and become more symptomatic. And so I always say it's easier to fix them when they're smaller. They like to stay fixed when they're smaller and repaired earlier. And so surgery is really the only treatment option to definitively repair the hernia. There are a lot of different ways to do those surgeries, open, laparoscopic, robotic. We offer all of those at Essentia Health, and you really have to have a tailored discussion with each patient based on their risks, their prior surgical history, what their life is like outside. If you have a person who's a bodybuilder and wants to get back to that heavy lifting, you may need to consider a different type of repair versus an older lady who just doesn't want the bulge and doesn't want the pain symptoms anymore.
So farmers who would like to come in and have this done between corn harvest and winter dealer meeting season in January, and they want to make sure that they are back to doing whatever it is they want to do in about 3 days, and I don't have time for physical therapy. How are you going to get them rehabbed? What's going to happen? What's the treatment and length of that look like?
It's variable, again, kind of based on size. So for most inguinal hernias, I do a lot of those minimally invasive. I like to put the mesh and that's one thing that we talk about is hernia repairs essentially always get mesh because we are able to reduce the risk of recurrence of that hernia significantly from like 20 to 30% down to less than 1 to 2% for most hernias by just using this piece of mesh that helps augment that repair. And so I do a lot of the minimally invasive version, kind of putting the mesh on the underside of the abdominal wall. To me, that makes sense with physics. You put the patch on the inside of the hole, and you use all the contents to push that patch up to the hole. I tend to let people get back to their business a little bit quicker, kind of on the order of 1 to 2 weeks or so.
It's like patching a tire. I got
Kind of,
this. Okay.
yep.
How long? And so you might be down 1 to 2 weeks. That's not all bad for people. Can there be complications that could take a little bit longer? Like you're always told after surgery, go home and take it easy. But if you don't, does that just re-injure yourself, extends the amount of time it's going to take for you to heal up, etc.? I would imagine so.
Yeah, you can certainly have early recurrences, which is kind of the most frustrating thing as the surgeon is that you do all this work and for one reason or another, that hernia comes right back in kind of a short time frame. That's very frustrating for both the patient and the surgeon because it's just hard. It's a hard problem to deal with when that happens because you have to reoperate. Oftentimes that hernia is worse than it was at the very beginning because of the new surgical intervention. And so trying to take it easy, trying to follow your physician's instructions can be very important. Otherwise, there's kind of all the general surgical risks associated with infection and bleeding and all those anesthesia risks too, because we do need anesthesia to complete this procedure most of the time.
This probably fits in very well as a listener question coming into us. How long does surgery take? Is this a day process? I'm in, I'm out in the same day? What does that look like?
A lot of the hernia repairs are same day. Smaller umbilical hernias, the surgery itself takes about half an hour, and then you're in and out of the hospital in about 2 to 3 hours. Larger hernias can be 4 to 5 hours. The largest ones I do, which are very intensive, takes 6 to 7 hours to complete. So
Wow.
Hernia disease is a very wide spectrum. You go from these small millimeter-sized defects to someone who has a 10 to 12 centimeter wide gap that needs advanced techniques to close it down.
Once again, I'm going to say that sounds horrific. Thank you for fixing it. Okay, so Dr. Dustin, if people are concerned, they're like, maybe I do have something going on here that should be looked at. What are their next steps? Who do they go to first?
Yeah, so oftentimes we recommend primary care evaluation. Our clinic for the general surgery clinic does accept walk-ins, so if you're concerned enough that you have a hernia, we do take self-referrals as well to be scheduled. But always a safe bet's kind of your primary care providers. They have a wide breadth of knowledge and kind of guide you in the right direction.
Thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoy doing these Fit Farmer Focus segments with all of you from Essentia Health because everybody learns something. We're helping to make our farming community safer and more healthy, but everybody else learns along the way. So thanks again today, Dr. Dustin.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right.
All right. I bet
Go ahead,
Dean
Bridgette.
wants to talk about the weather, doesn't he?
we've got some thunderstorms trying to pop right now. Remember I said that 20 to 30% chance scenario? Well, it may be coming through here before dinner time. I'll detail what we may be expecting here during the evening hours and overnight coming up after the break. And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. And we are going to have severe weather across the area as we head into tonight. Now, the question is, do we see some severe weather before midnight? And the Storm Prediction Center has just highlighted eastern parts of North Dakota into extreme northeastern South Dakota for the potential of isolated supercells developing after 3 p.m. this afternoon, basically between about 3 and 6. Very unstable atmosphere in place, a warm front lifting north, and radar showing a little thunder shower trying to develop just around the Arthur area, but it's diminishing. So, but that's what we're kind of keeping an eye on is after 3 o'clock, between about 3 and 6. If we see any storms develop, they have the potential of becoming supercells, which means very large hail and also the possibility of some spin-up tornadoes with that. That's not a guarantee. It's only about a 20 to 30% chance, but it is there, so you'll want to be weather aware this afternoon. The best bet for severe weather is going to come tonight. We're expecting storms to develop between, Bismarck and Minot, about 5 o'clock or so, and then push eastward as we head throughout the evening and early overnight hours. So this is going to be a statewide event, basically, as this line of storms will push eastward. And as it does, now on the initial development out in the central part of the state, it's going to be a large hail and a possibility of a couple tornadoes. The best tornado threat is going to be right along the Canadian border there. But as it moves eastward towards the valley, close to midnight, we are expecting some damaging wind threat with that, with winds excess of 80 miles an hour, kind of similar to what they had out in the western part of the state just the other night. So we could be looking at wind damage in and around the valley and into Lakes Country right around that midnight hour. So something we'll be keeping you up to date on. We'll be here all night, so if there are any warnings, we will definitely break into regular programming. I know we've got our debate party for the election tonight, and we will be breaking into that if we do have severe weather. But we will more than likely see some type of watch box issued for much of the area as the Storm Prediction Center, again, is looking at our area and discussing about whether a watch should be issued. So more than likely we will see some type of watch, whether it be a severe thunderstorm watch or a tornado watch issued for up and down the valley here. Probably within the next few hours.
Truly, a meteorologist would use the term best tornado. Best tornado forecast. I'm like,
yeah.
What?
I
What?
blame this on
Okay.
everyone who spent all winter being like, I can't wait for summer. I can't wait till it's nice and warm. You don't see this in the middle of December. I'm just saying.
No, you got to deal with blizzards then. Would you rather
Shovel.
would you rather have that?
You might still have a
Shovel.
house after blizzard, though. What are you going to do? Shovel after a tornado comes through?
Very valid point. Yes.
Look, I'm still having PTSD from last June 20th. Let's not get too far on this.
Snow
guys.
blowers do not fix tornado damage.
They don't. They really don't. Now, June is Dairy Month. I've talked about that a little bit, but also June is Men's Health Month. If you didn't realize that, it may be the month to go take care of yourself. Men tend to develop heart disease earlier and may have different symptoms of a heart attack. Since today was Essentia's Fit Farmer Focus, this all seems rather timely. So for men, if you're having a heart attack, you will likely have chest pain or pressure during that attack. But for women, you may have chest pain, nausea, sweating, pain in the neck, jaw, throat, abdomen, or back. Good Lord, for every woman over 50, it's just a normal day of menopause, I'm pretty sure. So I'll ask everybody and compare their notes on that one. But this is a great month that if you smoke, you could take some steps to quit. Don't forget to have some vegetables and fruits every day. I understand the carnivore diet's a big thing, but toss in a leafy green now and then. That's not bad. And high soluble fiber. Okay, this makes me laugh because I distinctly remember the Metamucil commercials as a kid. But now we can just have oatmeal, oranges, sweet potatoes, flaxseed. All of those help reduce your bad LDL. So, just a few hints for June is Men's Health Month. Let's talk about. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to tell Addison, he wasn't listening, and he's like, what did I just walk into? Menopause. I'm like, it's not menopause, it's menopause, Addison. So
Is this what happens when you turn 27?
you don't have to worry about it just yet.
Someone warned me about this.
It's okay.
Oh, Addison.
You'll probably you'll get a hernia before you have to worry about it. It'll be fine.
Right, exactly.
Remember, check your belly button.
Mom, come pick me up. I'm scared.
Within reason, yes. Okay, so we're talking about health. Let's talk about bugs in an unhealthy crop. Because actually, the foundation of everything that you do in the field is your soil. Is your soil healthy? And if it's not, if you are looking at stress in the plants, maybe a nutrient impact, compaction, poor root development, that can lead to stress in your plants. And there's something called the Brix. It's a measurement that reflects the concentration of sugars in plant sap. I hear it talked about when we discuss wines and wine grapes. So mostly used in fruit production, but we can apply it to row crops as well. So if you have sugars that are being produced during photosynthesis, they are the energy for the plants. They're building blocks for proteins, enzymes, natural defense compounds. When the plant is healthy and it's coming out of healthy soils, it's well supported by soil microbes, and those sugars are converted into the molecules that strengthen cell walls and help a plant be healthy. But when that breaks down, when the plant isn't healthy, that's when insects like to attack. So there are times I hear people using products that they want to use sugar and apply it as a growth aid to their plants. But my concern is if the plant is already signaling that it's not healthy, and it's showing this Brix measurement where it's got more sugar secretion, and you add more sugar, doesn't that just attract more insects? Isn't that why Mom said you couldn't keep the M&Ms in your bedroom? Because it could attract bugs. So just trying to draw a little conclusion there about soil health and so forth and what that might mean. Also, for those of you who have been longtime fans of Corteva AgriScience and their seed companies known as Pioneer, Dairyland, Brevant, etc., there's some changes there. Most of you may have picked up on this already. That company that came together back in 2017 when Dow and DuPont merged has now been splitting up. Apparently, there was a bad marriage and it didn't last. So we now have the Ag Chem going to a different position. They'll be using the Corteva name. And then we have the seed brands. They're going to be under the overall umbrella called Vylor. Then the individual brands, Pioneer, Brevant, and now Dairyland will become Hogemeyer. Those brands will stay underneath that umbrella under Vylor. Pioneer is about 100 years old in the seed industry. Hogemeyer is about 90 years old, so they bring long-standing customer service and great genetics to the market with this slight change. Again, we're going to see the split between the seed and the chemistry sides of the business, and they'll just be operating on slightly different names, but likely your sales rep that you like the most and get to work with will stay the same. So, little changes in the industry right there.
All right. Well, that will do it for today's edition of Weather and Ag in Focus. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Again, make sure to tune in for the Jay Thomas Show. That's coming up next. And we will be having severe weather coverage throughout the night, so you want to stay tuned for that. Be weather aware if you're heading out and about this evening and into the overnight.